Much of New South Wales is under unprecedented bushfire conditions. Let's go through the latest information. A week-long state of emergency is in place across the state. Temperatures are tipped to rise into the high 30s and, combined with strong southern winds forecast for later today, are expected to put lives and properties at risk. 1 million hectares is already burnt out. The North Coast region is the biggest area of concern. A catastrophic fire danger is in place for Greater Sydney, the Greater Hunter and Illawarra Shoalhaven regions.
This is the first time since the new fire danger ratings were introduced a decade ago that such fire warnings have been forecast for Sydney. The city's being significantly affected by smoke. 3,000 firefighters, backed up by the Army, extra aircraft, have been deployed or are on standby. More than 600 schools and TAFEs are closed. Emergency services are warning residents to heed these warnings and not stay in their homes if they're asked to leave. There are not enough resources to reach everyone. Now, around 6 million residents across New South Wales are bracing for catastrophic bushfire conditions. Let's go to our reporters right across key locations. Jackson Williams is in East Maitland in the Hunter region. Anna Rawlings is in Queensland where more than 60 fires are burning. Let's begin with Jackson. And Jackson, first to you, what's the latest from East Maitland? You're in one of those catastrophic areas where the warning is most fierce.
Kieran, I'm in the Greater Hunter region. As we know, a catastrophic fire danger warning has been issued for this region today. The conditions here relatively calm at the moment. It was rather cool this morning, but certainly people should not have a false sense of security. They should not be complacent because there are going to be extremely dangerous conditions in this part of the state throughout the day. Catastrophic fire danger conditions. We know that same fire danger warning has also been issued for the Greater Sydney region for the first ever time in the 10 years of the current fire warning system, and also the Illawarra Shoalhaven region. Its fire danger warning was only upgraded yesterday afternoon, and that's simply because, according to fire authorities, according to the RFS, that the fire danger was worse than initially thought. Today, people living in and around bushfire-prone areas, particularly in these catastrophic fire zones, they should not be at home. They should already be making preparations to get away from home, to head to the beach, to head to a shopping centre, because any fires that start today will do so rather quickly and spread extremely aggressively. I'm outside the Lower Hunter Fire Control Centre here. There's staff from so many agencies working together, closely monitoring the conditions in this region today, as well as any fire activity.
Thank you, Jackson. To Queensland, where almost 60 fires are burning. Some schools are closed and thousands of extra troops are on standby in Queensland as that state also prepares for worsening conditions. Anna Rawlings is at the Queensland Fire and Emergency HQ. Joins us live now. Anna, a change in wind direction is on the way.
And authorities say that's going to see Queensland start to experience the top end of those conditions we're seeing in New South Wales. Not quite as catastrophic, but certainly enough to bump the fire danger here from severe to extreme. That's because of an increase in temperatures as well as a change in wind direction. Now, authorities are keeping a close eye on that. We're expecting to see those conditions start to present going into this afternoon before peaking tomorrow. They're also contending with some challenging wind conditions.
We continue to have changing wind conditions. Some of these fires are actually on the coastal fringe as well, and so in addition to the broader weather pattern and the change that comes through that brings hot, dry winds with it, we also then get coastal sea breezes, and some of those coastal sea breezes can be very significant. They're not really just a breeze, they're actually quite windy, and that can create a lot of erratic fire behaviour and a lot of challenges for our firefighters.
Now, there are also thousands of interstate and even international personnel who are coming to help out. Troops from New Zealand will be arriving in Queensland shortly. There's also 40 water-bombing aircraft ready to go, and although Queensland has been very, very dry, firefighters say that they are prepared to use those aircraft and get out there with those water bombers.
We know we've had a water issue. We pre-planned for those water issues. We've got a number of large water tankers pre-positioned in key risk locations. We've had that throughout the summer to date, which really for us started back in August.
Now, 2 state schools and 1 early education centre are closed. People are advised to go onto the Department of Education website for the latest updates on those. They're all in central Queensland and just west of the Gold Coast, where there are fires of major concern today. There's also an air quality warning. A smoke haze that had blanketed the southeast has lifted, but authorities say there is still pollution in the air, so people should be trying to stay indoors. And when it comes to the fires, people should have their bushfire survival plans ready to go.
Meanwhile, let's go back to Emily Burley, who's at the RFS Command Centre in Wauchope on the mid-north coast. Emily, that area is on high alert and fires are expected to worsen there today.
That's right. The concern here is that a fire burning near us in Wauchope and another fire burning not too far from here in Port Macquarie will merge under those extreme conditions and make an even bigger threat. Now, Wauchope has been chosen for this command centre because it is central to the active fires and also central to the fire district here. Now, there are a lot of people on the ground. The RFS are here, fire and rescue, SES, paramedics, police, they're all here. They have just held their briefing for the morning and they're beginning to get ready for the day. They're packing food, packing water, putting equipment into the trucks, and those trucks are beginning to pull out of this centre onto the road as they head out for the day. Now, certainly it's not only the crews, the professionals and the volunteers getting ready, but also the residents as well. Some have chosen to leave, some have chosen to stay. A lot of them have already tried to fortify their homes as best they can, mowing lawns, clearing gutters, that sort of thing. But for those who are staying for the time being, they're urged to have a bushfire survival plan in place, one that has multiple escape routes should they get stuck, should a fire close any roads, but most importantly, people are being told to leave early. That is the safest option in the event of a fire.
Not only has the climate changed, but our vegetation management laws have changed, and that's why you have so much more fuel available to burn when you haven't had controlled burns.
As we just heard, the backburning debate continues, but for right now the focus today is on staying safe.
Let's update you now with the latest on the ongoing bushfire crisis. A week-long state of emergency has begun across New South Wales. Temperatures tipped to rise into the high 30s and combined with strong dry winds are expected to put lives and properties at risk. 1 million hectares has already been burnt out. The North Coast region is the biggest area of concern. Declarations of catastrophic fire danger are in place for the Greater Sydney, Hunter and Illawarra Shoalhaven regions. This is the first time since the new fire danger ratings were introduced a decade ago that this fire danger has been forecast for Sydney. Catastrophic is the highest rating. The RFS advises it's as bad as it gets, the worst conditions they've seen in 4 decades. 3,000 firefighters, backed up by the Army, have been either deployed or are standing by. A southerly wind change is due to arrive this evening, bringing cooler temperatures from about 7 p.m, but the strong winds are going to be problematic for the burning fires. The Bureau of Meteorology has put out this warning, trying to convey to residents the sheer danger that these winds could pose, even if they're currently far from a fire front. More than 600 schools and TAFEs are closed. Emergency services are warning residents their homes are not designed to withstand fire in these conditions. Let's go live to Taree. Pete Stefanovic joins us from the Taree Showgrounds, where residents have evacuated in anticipation of conditions worsening yet again, Pete.
Kieran, good morning to you. Yeah, there is all this talk of the catastrophic fire danger, with good reason, around the Greater Sydney, the Greater Hunter and the Illawarra Shoalhaven region. But further north to the mid-north coast here, it is extreme fire danger. It is one rung down, but it is still very, very serious. And that's where a lot of, or most of the concern is from the RFS anyway. I spoke to one of the local commanders a short time ago, and he did mention that wind change that you were talking about that's going to sweep through Sydney at about 7 o'clock tonight. It's expected to come through the mid-north coast at around about midnight, and if that does come through and if it does change the direction of the fires dramatically, it could cause some of the out of control fires up around Port Macquarie to merge, and if that happens it could well cross the Pacific Highway and then start encroaching on hundreds of properties, is what the RFS said. So a lot of problematic areas today. You might be able to see the smoke around me. It's getting very hot on the ground here too. I want to bring in a local now, Max French, almost 80 years old. He tells me he's been in Taree for all of his life, all that time as well. Max, first of all, Let's go back to, I mean, this is ground zero, remembering that it was around here on Friday where so many properties were lost and lives were lost as well. Can you describe what that was like for us?
We live out of town, probably only 6 or 8 k's, but we're in a fire-prone area, and we were advised to get out. So we haven't made a home. We came straight into here because knowing the area, I know this is clear and open here, and we protected from fire fairly well here. But I've been, like I said, all my life here, and I know the area. I understand climates, and I understand the bush. And it's just something we've never had before. We've had fires, but not like this.
So how describe what you saw when it came to the fires, and how big were they? How threatening were they, particularly close to your property?
Well, fires, I've never seen so much flame right to the tops of trees. And it is very close to our place, but naturally we haven't had anything burnt yet, luckily. But we got out. I mean, once it starts, there's no way out, you know, and down our area, it came right through to the roundabout on the freeway, just up from us, and even all the wood chips, all around the freeway, plants and trees have been burnt, all up in between the freeways. Fires that we've never seen before, but we've never had this dry a winter. You know, there's no moisture been on the ground at all. And most of it's just part of nature. You know, we can't make it rain. We can't do anything about those sort of things. So,
how concerned are you about, you know, the conditions today, the extreme weather rating that is here today, and these southerly buster that could cause a whole lot of problems around Port Macquarie later on tonight?
Well, the predictions are it's going to be worse than we've had. And if it's worse than we've had, it's going to be crook, you know. I mean, I've got friends all around the area out that have had to leave home and houses burnt and things like that. But if this is going to be this, I've never seen this much smoke, even through the fires the other day. There hasn't been this much smoke early in the day, and we haven't got any wind. So, you know, it's just you know, something we never have.
You and your wife Jenny, who I spoke to a little bit earlier, so you weren't taking any more risk. You're going to stay here at this evacuation centre?
Yeah, we're staying here because we've just, you know, we've got a mate home, so we're pretty comfortable, and we've got our little dog with us. And so this is the best place for us.
Yeah, just back, Max, on what you were talking about when it comes to the climate. I mean, I don't want to get into the ins and outs of the politics of everything at the moment, but you have lived here for a long time. What sort of changes have you noticed throughout that time?
Well, when we were young, we had a summer, autumn, winter and spring, you know, and summertime all the kids run around sunburnt and whatever. There's not even that anymore. Whether there's not the heat in the sun right on Christmas or whatever, but we've had no real winter here this year. We've had no rain, we've had no coldness, you know, we've had none of that sort of stuff. So seasons aren't like they used to be. Climate change, we get that 4 times in one day, but nothing to do with that. It's just that we just haven't had rain. Yeah. We've been right out into the west and up through Gundawindi and places like that, and there's just grounds like this.
What about, I mean, the unsung heroes so far? Well, not so much unsung. I mean, there's a lot of credit that have been given to the firefighters at the moment, but what about the work that they're doing at the moment? Incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. I don't know how they stand so close to that heat holding the hose. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. But I've seen fire trucks even, everything is plastics melted on the trucks. You know, all the lights and blinkers and everything, it just melted on the trucks.
Well, interesting on that too, isn't it? Because we were driving in yesterday and there's those melted signs and there's basically forests that have become burnt matchsticks.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you describe everything around here?
It is. It's and half it'll never recover. You know, it's just dead. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
How's the community going?
Oh well, I think we're coping with things pretty well. We expect these sort of things. I mean, the lifestyle we want to live, you know. We don't want to live in the city. So it's the lifestyle we want to live is out in the country. And even as I get older, I hate the thought of coming to town to live. You know, we're on 11 acres and, well, back when I've lived in the same place for 45 years. And, you know, I had horses and all my grandkids are growing up there ripping around the paddocks, you know, but I couldn't come to town and live.
Can you do something about these fires, Max?
No, I can't do anything about the fires, no.
Flies Flies, I'm saying.
Oh, flies. Oh, they're just hungry like everyone else.
Yeah, right. Max French, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Max.
Right.
To you and wife Jenny. Yeah. So again, Kieran and Annalise, hold up a sec there. Hold up a sec there, Max. Kieran and Annalise, yeah, it should. We should, pay some respect to. I mean, not that we haven't, to the firefighters around town at the moment too, right across the state. As a matter of fact, 3,000 of them who are on standby at the moment, waiting for something to break and protecting towns against those ones that already are.